In this video, I want to explain the concept of tenancy bootstrappers. It sounds complicated, but it actually isn't. It's the class that takes care of the tenancy in various parts of your application, in various functionality, like database to create the databases, like taking care of the cache and the file system. But in this video, I want to demonstrate the queue tenancy bootstrapper because it's quite an easy one. What is the problem? For example, if you add a job to your queue, and that job needs to process some data from the database, which database should it query? The main one or the tenant one? Then which tenant one? By default, the job does not contain that code. It would load just tenant model and try to, for example, do something. So the queue tenancy bootstrapper, if you enable that in the config, would add tenant ID to the jobs and will also process that when processing the job. So configuration of all the bootstrappers comes in the config tenancy, and queue tenancy bootstrapper is enabled by default, from what I remember. And if it is enabled, not commented out, then look what happens. For example, let's try to send an email to the administrator when the project is created. So on the project controller in the store, would have project and then send a notification email to administrator. So let's create a notification class for that. PHP artisan make notification project created notification, for example. And then from here would have notification facade route, send the email to, for example, admin.com with notify new class of project created notification, and the parameter would be the project. I will demonstrate it with queue with my mail trap that I use for sending emails. So we go to that notification, and in the construct we accept the project. So this is Eloquent model, and the job, the notification queuable job, would not be in position to know what database to query. And let's create a private function, private project like this, and then we pass that parameter to the private. And then in the notification email, we can change, for example, this to project was created, name, and then the name would be this project, and then name from the database. We don't need any action, and let's leave it as it is, and let's make it queuable. To make notification queuable in Laravel, this is the line to use. We just need to enable that with implements should queue. Then locally, I will demonstrate queue with a driver of database, so you would visually see the content of that database job. For that, in my env file, I've changed queue connection from sync to database. And also what I need to do is artisan queue table, which would generate the migration for table of jobs. And if we run artisan migrate, it will create jobs table with these fields. And for now, we don't have any jobs. Also, I've configured my mail trap that I use for temporary inbox for catching the emails. And let's try it out. So we should send a notification. Let's create a new project. So I am in my tenancy subdomain with tenant ID. We add a new project, something, and it is here in the database. But for now, we haven't started the queue yet. Let's go to the database. And that's specifically why I've chosen the database driver, because then we were able to see the payload of the job. So the job contains a lot of information. Let's just copy all of that, and I will paste it into JSON formatter online, format beautify, and let's see the content. The content is with command about what to do with the job, but this is the most important part, tenant ID 4. So then when you run the queue, no matter what the driver is, database or Redis or whatever, the job will catch the tenant ID and query specifically that database, which is in my case tenancy underscore 4. So if we do PHP artisan queue work, processing, processed, the email has been sent. And in my mail trap, I should see a new email, which I do with name of the project here, although that name wasn't in the payload of the job, so you will not see the name of the project here. You only see the model project, which is then queried from the database and from the correct database. So this is how the package of tenancy helps to separate the queues, or in fact it's the same queue, one queue, but each queue job knows what tenant to work with.